Hi there, Mark Jabin here, Medical Director for the Haywood County Health Department. Let's talk about this pandemic. Time again for the weekly update. And the summary is that things continue to look up, and for Haywood County too. So please, share this with someone you care about. Well, as you look around the country, it's really quite remarkable. Only 2 states in the orange. In the orange, none in the red. And look at all the green in the center of the country. Vermont still with the lowest rate in the country at 1.5 daily average new cases per 100,000 population. Close to the green, but you'll note that no state is yet in the green. And to remind you, yellow indicates enough prevalence that there's still a very real potential to spike. Green is where we all need to be. All of our neighbor states continue lower, and for Tennessee, note all the green across their state. In North Carolina, we've gone from a daily average of new cases of 770 last week all the way down to 500 this week. Deaths dropped off this week as well, from 17 a day average now down to 10. And remember, the goal for North Carolina is 100 new cases a day, 1 to 2 deaths on average per day. So the state is getting closer. You'll also note in North Carolina, only 1 county in the red, and only 8 now in the orange, one of whom happens to be in western North Carolina. And also note there are now 9 counties in the state in the green, including 3 in western North Carolina. And speaking of western North Carolina, again, no counties in the red, only 1 in the orange, and 7 now under 4 new cases per day on a 7-day rolling average per 100,000 population, which places them less than halfway down the yellow range toward green. And if you look here, 3 counties in the green. That's the first time that we've seen that since spring last year, before we even had our first surge. This weekend, Macon joined Transylvania and Clay. Madison was green during the week, but this weekend crossed back up into the yellow. And note Clay with no new cases reported this past week. Don't know whether that's actually no cases or just they were not reporting. As far as testing, everybody reporting continues lower in their test positivity rates. And for Haywood County, total for the pandemic now 4,466. That's an increase this week of only 16 new cases. That's a level we've not seen since a year ago. And last week, you may recall, we had seen a bit of an uptick, worrisome of where that might be headed. But as we have seen several times for Haywood County, we seem to reach a plateau, only then to continue what in retrospect is a downward trend. And this time appears to be the same. That's great news, because if it holds, this would take us back to levels not seen since before last summer's surge, which again, as you recall, was the first spike we saw in Haywood County during this pandemic. There was 1 additional death reported this week from back in January, as we just received that death certificate. And at Haywood Regional Medical Center, they remain about the same with 2 to 3 COVID-related admissions. But it should be noted, there are 2 Haywood County residents on ventilators with COVID this past week at Mission. So here's the takeaway right now. Cases are rapidly coming down. More and more places are approaching the green, and that's the good news. The bad news? Cases are still happening. And the serious outcomes that we see are happening only in those not vaccinated. The levels at week's end are great, but the question is, will they hold? Because only when they have held for 2 to 3 months can we truly feel we are out from under the shadow of this virus. And just to remind you, for North Carolina, that's 100 new cases a day average, 1 to 2 deaths statewide a day average. And for Haywood County, that's 2 to 3 new cases a day, less than 20 per week. And in much of western North Carolina and in Haywood County, we are here. Now it's time for each of us to stay vigilant and do your part to keep us here. As for what you can do once vaccinated and what you can do if not vaccinated to be safe, see video number 160 from last week. And if you want to access all the videos from during the pandemic, go to YouTube and search for Daily Pandemic Update with Dr. Mark. So be well and be careful, especially right now.